Welcome back to Mountain Outpost. I'm your host, Zach Marion. I am sitting here in a colorful Steamboat Springs, Colorado at the bustling Run Rabbit Run 100-mile packet pickup. I'm here with none other than Brittany Peterson. Brittany, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good.
You came all the way from the Great White North.
That's right.
Yeah, what brings you to Run Rabbit? Why this race?
I mean, Run Rabbit is obviously, it's a bucket list race, I think, for finding competition, running in the mountains. I'm intrigued by the whole run overnight, don't have a pacer, all of that stuff. And I just feel like it's fitting in the whole Brittany comeback journey, I suppose, of why not. I've been away from the 100-mile distance for 3 years now. So it's kind of this seems like a good welcoming home.
Yeah, I mean, you a couple things I want to touch on there. First, we talked about the Brittany Peterson comeback tour, which I'm here for. Yeah. I love it. The other thing that I want to talk about is you specifically chose Run Rabbit Run, which is a notoriously difficult course, even though on paper it does not seem difficult. The course profile is not aggressive compared to a lot of other mountain hundreds. You are at a high elevation, but not crazy high elevation. But you take into account the 1 p.m. start, having to run through the night, no pacers, long sections between crew, and it is a little high. It is a decent amount of elevation. It makes for a really, really difficult race for a lot of people. However, we've had a couple Canadians do pretty well here recently.
There has been,
and I think you are technically a Canadian now.
Well, not really. I'm just residing up there. I'm emulating their awesomeness, I think.
Yeah, just absorbing it all. Is that part of the Brittany comeback tour? Is bring in some Canadian energy?
No, but I mean, I think it's loving the terrain. That's why I'm up there, because the Canadian Rockies are amazing. So it's obviously a playground for a race like this, where it's just tons of vert, fun runnable downs. I don't know, just being out in the mountains, mountain conditions, all of that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've referenced the Brittany comeback tour a couple times now, and I want to dive into that a little bit. You, at the peak of the sport, a handful of years ago, you were, multiple Western States Golden Ticket winner, course record holder at some pretty significant races. You've had some amazing results at Western States and other great races. And then you found yourself fairly injured.
Yeah.
And a long comeback. As you said, it's been 3 years since you've graced the 100-mile distance. Talk to me a little bit about, share with the audience what that injury was and kind of what that build back has looked like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated because, well, one, it started with an elective surgery. If I found out I had a femoral acetabular impingement, so I didn't have full range of motion in my hip, and so I would compensate, and that threw off all of my biomechanics, my hip positioning, all of that. And so I needed that surgery, and so it was going into that surgery of I've been on this up and down for so long of feeling really good, and then biomechanics and everything would shift because my body would have to adjust, and then I would just fall flat, and I couldn't run efficiently or effectively anymore, and it was super frustrating. So when I found out I was eligible for that surgery and actually found out exactly what was wrong, it was easy to make that decision to proceed with getting it fixed. So it's a pretty intense surgery where it's I'm fixing how my hips and femur work, and so I'm essentially relearning activation and motor memory, all of that, redoing years and years and years of running improperly, I suppose. And so everything was going well with that, despite it being pretty clunky to relearn and whatnot. But then I had a traumatic fracture of my ankle, which obviously at that point put me into a pretty big low, because I had channeled so much of my athletic attention and drive into recovery to then just get sidelined by something unexpected. So that has complicated things since, honestly, because the ankle, if it gets locked up, then it throws off my hip stuff again. So it's been a pretty big up and down that I feel pretty proud, because I've struggled for the longest time of the ankle would be a bad day, and then the hips are off, and then I can't run, and I've struggled with that, but I've kind of come to a pretty good peace, not full peace, but more
it's
peace with
hard.
it. Yeah. So it's it's the whole channeling into the accept where I'm at, but then like strive to keep getting back to where I know I can be. Like I saw a chiropractor today and talked to them about like I'm in the messy middle. That's what I keep saying of like the ankle is still like waxing and waning. It can get locked up. It can be really great, but I have to stay on top of it. Otherwise it can throw off my hips. And so it's been this interesting up and down journey of like really great running and then challenges that I have to keep working through.
Yeah, I mean, for those who couldn't tell, you are an occupational therapist. Yeah. I'm a physical therapist by education, so I followed along. I was like, oh, yeah, this is interesting. I want to talk about all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's all that to say is you went from this pinnacle of the sport, pinnacle of your own personal fitness, moving into a really, really big low that was intentional and required you to literally relearn how to run because you just basically open up this new development in your hips and you're like, oh, now I can move theoretically correctly and have to relearn. And then the ankle setting back, which now you're just fighting back and forth with that. I can only imagine, and I think we've all had our injuries. We've all had things. If you've run long enough, you've had an injury. It's not a matter of if, but when. And we've all struggled, mentally and emotionally with that. But you've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. How have you managed to work through that mentally and emotionally?
I think it's a struggle because I come to a race like this where it's like I want to put myself of like I'm in there for the win and all of that. And it's like I'm not selling myself short of like saying that that's not possible, but I'm also like trying to separate of like not putting expectation on me from that former Brittany lens, I suppose, because it's like it's a trap really of like
absolutely
falling into the like wanting to be the who's who and then comparing to when I was, but then struggling with the whole like I don't like that word was, because then it's like, oh, I guess I'm out, or like so it's being mindful and being in the moment, and then like being okay with like here's where I am today, which is a hell of a lot better than where it was like several months ago and all of that, and then just coming back to like that whole resiliency thing of like I'm not going to let struggle or the ankle, because it's like that was a bad part of my life, like I'm not going to let that stop me today. And you just have to keep working through it, which is like the whole name of the game of an injury. And I think there's other athletes out there that like I see of like they've had some lows, they've lost sponsorships or whatever, and like they're working back in, trying to stay like at the top of their fitness, knowing what they can accomplish still, despite like the chatter in the background, I suppose.
Yeah, it's that very intrinsic, internal, like doing this for yourself and not for who you were or what you want to be, but just because you love the sport. And you picked a heck of a race here at Run Rabbit to come back to. We've mentioned a little bit about how this course has so many challenges. It is a puzzle to put together, running through the night, running in the cold, high elevation, semi-high elevation. How do you foresee the day going for you tomorrow? And like in a perfect world, how would you like to approach this course, given all of its challenges, from starting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the cool thing of like how I've built my season this year, like building up to this race. But it's like I did my first 100K in July. That was a 9:30 p.m. start, and I went there totally by myself. I used drop bags, so it was like unsupported. It was 13 hours in the mountains because it was a lot of vert and everything. So it was that time of like, I'm going there and I'm getting this done by myself. And I feel like that's kind of been the theme of my journey, I guess, of like, I'll figure it out and I can do this, and like reliant on myself. And I feel like that's channeling that into Run Rabbit Run, because there's so many pieces to that. And so I think I'm excited about the nighttime. It's managing weather and conditions and light and fueling and all of that. But I think that's what drew me to this race of, yes, it's competitive. Yes, it's hard. It's brutal. But it's like, it is that like self-reliant and execution and strategy and like using my experience, even though it's not recent experience. I feel like that should help me. But at this point now, I'm kind of just curious on like, what is that like to be back in this environment again?
Right. Back into the thick of it.
Yeah.
We talked about this race being such a great race and like a unique strategy to this race. And, part of that is the fact that there is a deep field here There's always a good field that shows up to Run Rabbit Run. Part of that is that $20,000 purse that's sitting there that's up for grabs. Who are you most excited to run with?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't know.
Or did you put the blinders on? You're like, I don't care about it. I'm going at it.
I think that's the thing of like, I know like the top women and like the who's who, or like who to keep an eye on and things like that. And it's going back to that. Like, I want to see where I can be, but I'm not putting expectation on it. And I think that's my whole execution strategy, is really just be like where I'm at today in that moment, or tomorrow in that moment, to like run my own race. And so it is a little bit more of like, I'm excited to see people that I haven't seen, but really I think a lot of these women, I haven't run with them before, or at least certainly not recently, where it'll be exciting to see some people and race against new people. But I think ultimately I'm probably putting the approach of put some blinders on and just pay attention to how I'm feeling and how I'm executing in that moment, to make sure I'm running my own race so that I can feel good later on in the race.
Yeah, we've seen the sport change quite a bit. There's always some new focus in the sport and training, whether it's nutrition, whether it's high volume, low volume, high intensity. It's kind of run the gamut. And you and I both have like an extensive history in this sport, and I think we've seen it evolve and change quite a bit. How is your training and strategy like adapted?
Yes.
Especially since having to like start over and like relearn how to train. Have you taken anything new into training with you over the last maybe couple of years that you're like, hey, you know what, I've actually tried this new approach and I appreciate it?
You know, I think with like the ups and downs, like of like hips feeling good, hips not feeling good, like I've honestly, like there's been so much going on in the last couple of years that like my training has probably shifted to a little bit, not high volume for a lot of people's standards, but higher volume for my standard, because I'm honestly out like putting in the work in the mountains, you know, like for better or for worse. I'm a coach. Like I know like there's certain things I should be hitting, but I think from a mental perspective, I really needed that, as far as like my training has been fun. My training has been adventures. My training has been a lot of hard work, but it's certainly less rigid and less structured than it has been. Again, as a coach, like I have mixed feelings on that myself, but as me, a human, I know that that's where I've needed to be, and I'm happy to be, because it's made sure running has been healthy and happy, and like it can handle the ups and downs, I suppose, because it's helping me keep the headspace that I need to keep while I'm on this process.
Yeah, I mean, and your best race is your best race. Your best training is your best training, and that's all individual. You know, as also a coach, like that's what I preach day in and day out. Is like, don't compare yourself to others. It is like your training is like what's best for you is what's best for you.
Exactly.
And I love to hear about like different training techniques and different implementations, because I think it just gives us a great idea of like what can we try that's new and how does it work for other people, because it's all worth giving a try. Whether it works for you or not is yet to be determined. You got to go figure that out.
Yeah.
We're gonna change gears just a little bit. I do want to know, again, such a great history in the sport. You've put so many years as a coach, as an elite athlete. What are like some of the main pieces of gear that you take into every race that you're like, I've got to have X, Y, Z? I will say, like for Carl Meltzer, it's got to be that iPod shuffle with the corded headphones. That's his thing.
Yeah.
You know, is there something that you're like, these are my key pieces of gear that I got to have out there? Or it can even be something fun, like I always carry a little stuffed animal with me, something silly.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, specific to this race, I don't know if I have something like, I need this for sure. But for this race, the waist belt light, absolutely, I think is a game changer night running. So you will see me out there with that for sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Years ago, I remember getting one of the first waist belts, and everyone was like, that is so weird. But like, it's a game changer, right?
Night running, like, and I'm a technical runner where it's like, I want to be able to use the downhill, use the technical running, if we can call it. There's some technical pieces in there. And just having proper illumination to actually be able to see makes a huge difference.
Yeah, huge shout out to Ultraspire for the waist belts.
There we go.
Current sponsor of the race.
Yeah.
That was like, we didn't even pay you for that. So
no,
that's perfect.
I mean,
awesome.
But it's true.
So, you know, you have a lot of responsibilities. How do you manage all your training with, you know, a partnership, and, you know, you have your dogs, you have a full-time job? Like, how do you manage all that? Like, what advice would you give, your everyday runner about that?
I mean, it probably is like looking at your own situation and not comparing to others. 'Cause like I work with physicians that it's like they have such a small window, and it's like the recommendation for any of us is making sure that we can find that proper balance.
Yeah, no, balance is absolutely key. We got a couple more questions. We'll keep it real tight here so you can go get those legs up and get ready for tomorrow. I do want to know, like, you've been around the sport for a long time. What does the trail running community mean to you?
Man, especially, that's a great question because like this has been, like my first race back after a couple of like all of the thick of the surgery and the ankle and whatever. That was in Cape Town, so it was awesome to be part of the community, but it wasn't exactly like my community.
Your
or
home
like,
community,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, so Gorge Waterfalls this spring was like my first homecoming, and like just seeing, like the core people, there's too many to name, but it's like I saw like so many people where it's just like, I remember, well, I'll shout out to Leah Yingling. Like I saw her on the side of the trail. It's like, I'm in the middle of the race, and I just ran up to her and gave her a big hug because it's like, I haven't seen you for years. And then it's like, I followed your journey, and like she was pregnant at the time, like, so just all those things. So it just means so much. And I feel like this is another extension of that. Like the community has grown so much where like there's new faces like Gorge Waterfalls. I was like, who is that? Who? Like I've heard the names. It's like, oh, now I'm actually seeing some of these people. And so I feel like it's just, to me, Gorge, and I think Run Rabbit Run will be the same of like, it's just the welcoming home of like celebrating being here, celebrating getting the chance to like run hard, the chance to like see where I'm at, while just having fun and like being a part, like back in the actual seat, like enjoying the race with the community that I have missed so much.
We've all missed you so much, and we're so excited to see you back. Unsponsored athlete now, free agent.
Yeah.
So now you get to play with whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right.
What shoes are you throwing on tomorrow?
Oh, man. Well, I've been running in Mount to Coast shoes. I've been seeing those, the T1s, and I like them.
Yeah, no, I've actually got a pair on right now. I think they're great. I love them myself.
Yeah.
It's been fun to see. That is one of my favorite things in the sport recently, is seeing it grow so much. There's so many new options. I'm always curious to see what athletes branch out into.
Yeah. It's like overwhelming and exciting at the same time to like, where do I even go? I have no idea.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. Last question. We're going to wrap this one up with my favorite question. If you could go do if you're going to go do your shakeout right now, pre-race shakeout, and you're going to spend 30 minutes out there on a nice, easy conversational jog, who would you want to run with? It could be past, present, alive, dead, doesn't matter. Who would you like to spend those 30 minutes with pre-race?
I mean, I'm so boring that I don't have a really renowned answer for this. So I'm going to stick with tried and true, and I'm going to say my puppies because they are my buddies. They are my mountain adventurers, and I talk to them anyway. So, yes, I would go and catch up with my puppies. But actually, more so, it makes me super happy to see them running free and playing in the mountains, and I love that.
Oh, I absolutely love to see it. Anyone who doesn't follow you on social media, Instagram, Run Happy Bee, you can go see the dogs out there.
Yeah.
Brittany, thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck tomorrow. I am really excited to see you at the finish line.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.